for me. And yet, I did. One night, I passed by the study on my way to the kitchen. The door was ajar. I heard voices. "She's just a girl," Thomas was saying. "She's mine," his father growled. "You disgust me. She came to me willingly. You paid for her, father." There is no willingness in chains. The air left my lungs. I ran. The next morning, I avoided them both. I wandered into Lucy's room instead. She sat at the window, hair in a loose braid, staring out at the garden. "You look sad," I said softly. She smiled faintly. "They all pretend to love me," she whispered. "But you're the only one who listens." I sat beside her and held her hand. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. But even as the words left my lips, I knew they were a lie. Because everything had changed. And soon, nothing would be the same again. Part 4. Secrets in the Quiet. Section 1. Silence after the storm. The morning after he left, the entire manor breathed easier. The Viscount had departed for London before dawn, and I hadn't seen him go, but I had heard the heavy hooves echoing against the gravel, and the low curses of his valet scrambling to gather his papers and coat. I remained perfectly still beneath the covers in the guest chamber, too afraid to move until the sound of wheels faded into nothing. Only then did I dare to exhale. He was gone. My ribs ached less without the threat of being summoned. I didn't flinch at every footstep in the corridor. Even the maids seemed to walk more freely, their posture just a shade more upright. But no one looked me in the eye. No one asked if I had slept well. I wasn't a person to them. I was a memory of something too scandalous to confront and too inconvenient to remove. I stayed in my room for most of the day. Sat by the window with a book I couldn't finish. I watched the wind comb through the ivy that clung to the east wing. Every now and again I'd press my fingers to the bruises on my hip and wonder if they'd fade faster without his presence. I doubted it. Some bruises chose to linger. Section 2. A change in the air. The second day of his absence, I ventured out into the gardens. I shouldn't have. Not alone. Not with the household already whispering. But it was the only place where my lungs could fill properly. Where the roses didn't ask questions and the dirt didn't accuse me. I was tending to the white roses, always my favorite, though the thorns bit harder, when I heard a voice behind me. "Cousin Sarah." I turned so quickly my skirts caught on the edge of the bench. He stood there in a navy waistcoat, sleeves rolled up, gloves in his hand. Lord Thomas Rutherford, the Viscount's son. He looked nothing like his father. His eyes were gray, not green. His jaw was firmer, his brow more thoughtful. Where the elder Rutherford seemed made of shadow and edge, Thomas seemed carved from a quieter kind of stone, polished, not dulled. "My lord," I said quickly, dropping into a small curtsy. My fingers trembled slightly as I reached for my bonnet. He noticed. "You needn't do that," he said. "No one bows in gardens." I nodded, unsure how to respond. He took a step forward. "Do you mind if I sit?" "It's your bench," I said, almost too quickly. He gave the faintest smile. "And yet, you've made it look far more dignified." We sat in silence. Not the kind that accused or questioned, but the kind that filled the space with something gentle. He didn't ask where I was from. He didn't press me on how I came to be here. He didn't stare too long at the yellowing on my wrist where a bruise still faded. He simply watched the roses with me. Section 3. A dangerous comfort. Over the next week, I saw him more than I expected. In the corridor outside the library. In the parlor with Lucy, laughing as she showed him one of her terrible sketches. In the stables, inspecting the new gelding that had arrived from York. And every time, something in his gaze softened when it met mine. He never touched me, never flirted or teased or even offered the slightest indication that he knew what I was beneath the label of cousin. But I felt it. He saw me, not the version of myself I had sewn from threads of deception, but the frightened, exhausted, threadbare girl still clinging to her last scrap of dignity. One evening, after supper, I escaped the manor to the orchard. It had rained earlier. The grass was still wet, the sky pinking with twilight. I sat on the low stone wall and tilted my head to the wind. I was so lost in thought I didn't hear him approach. "You always come here when it rains." I turned and there he was. No coat, no cravat, just sleeves rolled to the forearms and a book in one hand. I looked away. "I like the quiet. May I share it with you?" A pause. Then a small nod. We sat side by side. He opened the book. It was poetry, some old edition of Tennyson, and began to read aloud. Softly, not performing, not impressing, just sharing. His voice was low and warm. I found myself closing my eyes just to listen. When he stopped, I realized I was crying. He said nothing, only handed me a handkerchief and waited. Section 4. The touch that changed everything. It happened 2 days later. I had been helping Lucy into bed, brushing her hair and humming a song my mother used to sing. She fell asleep quickly, her thin frame curled into the coverlet like a child in a fairy tale. As I turned to leave, I found him in the doorway. "I was looking for you," he said. "I was just putting her to bed." He stepped forward. We were alone. And suddenly, I was aware of everything. How close he was. How still he stood. How the firelight caught the curve of his cheek. "I wanted to thank you," he said softly. "For being there for her. For staying." I didn't know what to say. So I said the only thing I could. I had nowhere else to go. He reached out. His fingers brushed a curl from my cheek. And that was the moment the world shifted. I didn't breathe. He paused, hands still at my face, eyes locked on mine. He leaned forward, slowly, cautiously, his lips a breath away. "May I?" I nodded. And we kissed. Not like before. Not like him. Not like what I'd endured beneath the shadow of the Viscount's bed. This was different. A kiss of question, not command. Of trembling hope. Of stolen light in a house full of darkness. Section 5. When the world holds its breath. The kiss didn't last long. He pulled back the moment I exhaled. Not because he wanted to stop, but because he respected the fragility of that moment, like one wrong move might shatter it into dust. His eyes searched mine, and for the first time, I didn't flinch under a man's gaze. "Thank you," I whispered. His brow furrowed. "For what?" "For asking." We didn't speak much after that. Not then. He left with a promise in his eyes that I didn't dare believe. A promise of something better, something slower, something human. I sat awake long after, fingers tracing the place on my cheek where he touched me. My body was still a battlefield. But in that moment, I felt something closer to peace than I had in months. And I was terrified, because I knew what this house did to peace. It devoured it. Section 6. The risk of wanting. The next few days were both torture and bliss. We didn't steal kisses in hallways. We didn't sneak letters beneath teacups. Nothing that dramatic. But we found each other in the in-between moments. When he passed me the sugar at breakfast and let our fingers brush. When he crossed the library just to hand me a book he thought I might like. When we both happened to be in the rose garden at dusk, and said nothing at all. It was unspoken, sacred, and ours. But of course, houses like this had a way of sniffing out joy. I saw it in Mary's stare, how her eyes lingered on me longer now, narrowed in calculation. How the other sisters seemed to turn their heads just a second too slowly when we passed one another in the corridor. The staff had grown colder, too. My sheets no longer smelled of lavender. My tea arrived lukewarm. My boobs were mysteriously misplaced. Whispers returned to the hallways. But I didn't care, because every evening, once the house had gone to bed, I would stand at my window and watch the light in his study flicker out, and pretend we were the only two souls in the world who knew what love truly felt like. Section 7. The first night I chose to stay. It was raining again. The house was quiet. Everyone had retired early after a particularly dull dinner, the kind where conversation dribbled into silence and Mary made it a point to mention how cousins shouldn't be kept too comfortable. I couldn't sleep. I paced, sat, read the same page 3 times. And then, my feet moved before my mind caught up. Down the hall, past the portrait gallery, to the east wing, to his study. I knocked, softly. The door opened within seconds. He was still dressed, sleeves rolled, hair slightly mussed as if he too had been pacing. He looked at me like I was something sacred. "Are you all right?" he asked, stepping aside. I hesitated in the doorway, then nodded. I didn't come to talk. There are no words to explain what it felt like to be touched that night. Not as a thing, but as a person. He undressed me slowly, hands trembling, not with hunger, but with restraint. Every inch he uncovered, he looked at with reverence. As if each bruise was a battle scar, and every breath I took was a kind of defiance. He kissed me gently at first, his lips moving like a prayer over my collarbone, my neck, the soft underside of my wrist. And when he finally entered me, it was with such care that I cried, not from pain, not from fear, but from the staggering difference. There was no violence, no control, only presence, only him. We didn't sleep. We stayed wrapped in each other's warmth until dawn crept over the curtains. He brushed a strand of hair from my forehead and whispered, "If this is wrong, I don't want to be right ever again." I laughed, a broken, startled sound, like something that had been locked away had finally cracked open. "Don't say that," I said, fingers tracing the curve of his jaw. "They'll hear us." "I want them to," he murmured. "I want them to know I love you." Section 8. Beginning to dream again. The next few weeks passed like a dream I didn't want to wake from. I would read in the library and know he might walk in at any moment. I would sit beside Lucy in the garden, and smile when she asked why I seemed happier. "Because someone sees me," I said once, without thinking. And it was true. For the first time in my life, someone saw me. Not as a pawn or a plaything. Not as a shameful secret. But as a woman with a heart still capable of loving, despite everything she'd lost. But dreams, especially sweet ones, have a cruel way of ending. The whispers were louder now. And the house was no longer content to simply watch. It was circling, waiting, and I knew, somewhere deep in my gut, that we were running out of time. Part 5. Embers of Rebellion. Part 5. Embers of Rebellion. From Sally's point of view only. Section 1. The burning begins. There's a kind of silence that always comes before destruction. The kind that's too still. Too polished. As though everything has been arranged just so, like a room set. For a funeral before anyone's died. That was what the Rutherford house became. The air had grown cold even though the fire burned high in every hearth. The servants were quieter. They passed me in the halls without their usual muttered slurs, but I knew it wasn't kindness. It was anticipation. And Mary was smiling. Always smiling. As though she'd seen something she shouldn't have, and was just waiting for the moment she could use it. Thomas still met me, but now with more caution. We no longer kissed in corridors or exchanged books. Our time together was cloaked in tighter shadows. The words I used to hear him whisper, "I love you, I love you, I love you," now became glances. Silent looks of longing as we passed one another on staircases. I had begun to crave his eyes the way a drowning woman craves the shore. But I knew we couldn't go on like this. The house had teeth, and it was preparing to bite. Section 2. Davenport's Games. Lord Davenport arrived that Friday. I heard the hooves long before I saw the carriage. He traveled with far too much pomp for someone who was only a fiancé. Mary greeted him with a little curtsy and a too-wide smile. He kissed her gloved hand, called her dearest, spoke softly to her and then looked at me. I was standing at the foot of the stairs, arranging a stack of books Lucy had asked me to find. His eyes lingered, not politely, not even suggestively. It was hungry, predatory, like he knew. I kept to myself for the rest of the day. Avoided the drawing rooms, the dining table, the parlor, the music room, everywhere he might be. But when the sun began to set, I let my guard drop. I thought perhaps I could slip into the library just for a little peace. I was wrong. He was there, waiting. He stood in front of the fire, drink in hand. He didn't look startled to see me. "Sally," he said, as though we were old friends. I stopped in the doorway. "My name is Sarah." He stepped forward. "Oh, forgive me. I must have heard your other name somewhere. The name your former acquaintances used in London." I turned to leave. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but firmly, like I was an object he had paid for and was simply retrieving. "Let go," I said quietly. He smirked. "You know, I don't think Thomas quite realizes what you are. What you've been. But I do. And I must say, I rather like it." His hand moved up my arm. And that was when the door slammed open. Section 3. The Fall of the Pretense. Thomas didn't ask questions. He didn't shout. He didn't hesitate. He lunged. His fist collided with Davenport's jaw in one swift blow. The sound of knuckles hitting bone echoed against the bookcases. Davenport stumbled back, crashing into the oak desk. I gasped. Thomas stood over him, breath heavy. "If you ever touch her again," he growled, "I will break your hands." Davenport groaned. "You're mad." Say it again. I didn't do anything. Thomas stepped closer. Say it again. But he didn't get the chance. Because suddenly, the entire family was there. Mary was screaming. Mrs. Rutherford was pale with fury. Even Lucy stood at the door, wide-eyed and terrified. Thomas turned to face them all, shoulders heaving. She is not a toy. She is not yours. And if any of you so much as look at her with that smug disdain again, I will burn this house to the ground. Silence. Then Mary, ever the viper, let out a small laugh. Oh, how noble, she spat. How romantic. The broken girl from nowhere, the bastardized cousin, the whore, and our golden heir, wrapped around her finger. Thomas took a step toward her, but I stopped him. I placed my hand on his chest. Don't, I whispered. She wants you to. The whispers stopped being whispers after that. Now they were screams. Section 4. Trial by fire. I was called into the parlor the next day. Not summoned. Called. Like an animal. Like a servant who'd overstayed her welcome. The family was gathered in silence, like judges awaiting the confession. Mary, of course, sat at the center, eyes sparkling. The Viscount was still away. But the rest of them, they were sharpening their knives. Mrs. Rutherford folded her hands. We know. There was no need to ask what they knew. Mary leaned forward. You seduced him. I laughed. It just slipped out. A bitter, broken laugh that cracked the stillness. You think I could seduce anyone in this house? I asked. After what your father. Don't you dare speak of him, Mrs. Rutherford snapped. You forget your place. My place, I said, stepping forward, was in a family that loved me. In a home that was taken from me. In a body that's been broken and used and cast aside like a dress no longer in fashion. And even after everything, you still think I'm the problem. Mary stood. She slapped me, hard. I didn't flinch. I see, I said. I'm not finished, she hissed. Yes, you are, Thomas said from the doorway. Section 5. The news that broke me. Later that evening, I found Thomas sitting in the orchard beneath our arch. His shirt sleeves were rolled. His hands were dirty with soil from where he'd ripped out the ivy, as though he could bury his rage in something living. They won't stop, I said quietly. He looked up. I know. We'll never be safe here. I know. He took my hand. I've written to my cousin in New York. He'll help us. We can leave. Disappear. Start again. No titles. No Rutherford name. Just us. My breath caught. Are you sure? His answer was immediate. Yes. We made our plan that night. We'd leave just before dawn in 2 days. Quiet. Careful. No goodbyes. I packed only what mattered. My locket. My mother's scarf. Luce's sketch of me holding a rose. He kissed me before bed, his fingers brushing the curve of my back. Soon, he whispered, we'll be free. The next afternoon, Mary watched me too closely. Her smile returned, her eyes glinted, and I felt it in my bones before the words ever came. That night, after supper, Lucy snuck into my room.